Hello, I'm PJ Bishop, and welcome to the off season. A highly disappointing year for us, 68 and 94. That's a 42% winning percentage. Did improve from last year. I believe last year we were what? 35%, so a 7% increase. Didn't lose 100 games, which is nice. 68 and 94. But still a very bad year. All in all, not something I'm proud of. And if you're wondering who won the World Series, I believe you can look that up. The Los Angeles Dodgers are your World Series champions as they beat Houston 4-2 in the World Series. And they had to come all the way down from the wild card to get there. They beat Atlanta 2-1, which Atlanta, by the way, what a season they had. If you remember, they were at one point lower in the standings than we were. Then they ended up beating New York, who was really good this year, so disappointing. They must be disappointed. Well, beat them 3-2. Easily handled Arizona 4-1. And pretty handily handled Houston 4-2 to win their World Series championship. So, congrats to them. Champions. Interesting. I never clicked on this. Let's see what happens if I click on it. Well, it takes a long time to load. I also have a fairly bad computer, so that's probably why. Maybe I should get a better one. I will one day. That day just isn't today. Holy moly, this takes a long time. What are they loading in? Every champion in the history of champions? Okay, I see. Look at that. Awesome. 2024 World Series winners. That's nice. I like that. Let you know who the manager was. It gives you this. Ooh, this is pretty cool. This is a pretty cool snapshot of all the things they did. Good for them. Good for them. So yeah, Dodgers are the champions. So congratulations to them. Hopefully they can be us. As you can see here, we did struggle this year offensively. Second to last in pretty much every major category. That kind of happens when you have a really young team, which is we did. We had a ton of young guys that are still developing too, so this should improve as they age. Pitching didn't fare much better. At least runs against were bottom half of the league. The top bottom half. Starters ERA is a little worse than I hoped for, as they were in the bottom third. Bullpen did much better, finishing at the bottom of the top half there. And everything else is kind of low-ish. Just for reference point, most good starting pitchers, like the really good ones, are going to have an ERA in the threes. 3 point something. Now, this game, I noticed they gave some guys ERA in the 2 point, a lot of twos. But majority of the time, you're going to see a good starting pitcher with an ERA in the threes. So the average is roughly around 4, like a average pitcher who's just getting by. And if you're in the 5s, you're definitely struggling as a pitcher. And anything worse than that, you're pretty bad and either not cut out for the league or need to keep going back to the minors and work on your craft a little. That's just for a reference point. And for a reliever, they do tend to be a little lower in the low 3s, as they are expected to give up less runs, especially guys like the top closers. Regular relievers can be on par with the standard starting pitchers, but your elite, like high leverage situation guys, they typically have lower ERAs than even the best starting pitchers, as they are brought in to secure wins and make sure runs aren't scored. So if they're on par with regular starting pitching, then there's nothing special about a high leverage relief pitcher or a closer. Because I would like to kind of go over a recap of our entire team, starting with our pitching staff. We're going to go through my 40-man roster. And we're going to go through everybody that's on the pitching staff. I'm going to try to discuss what my plans are with them and if they have a future for the team, or if they're going to be traded, or what's the deal. Kind of eyeballing it here. I haven't really looked at it too much. You'll kind of be looking at it as I am. So starting with the first guy here, we got Jose Barrios. Had a solid year, a little below average actually. Finished the season with a 4.65 ERA, which is pretty high considering how much we're paying him. But he'll still be around, and I expect him to be in the rotation next year, despite his age. But if a trade comes around, I wouldn't mind trading him. He could end up being traded, to be honest. Come think about it. If I think about it more, it's kind of up in the air. But he might end up being, although he did play very well going down the stretch, or at least his ERA was starting to drop. So it's. But look at his whip. Home rate was down. Walk rate was up a lot. Almost 1 walk extra per 9. It's a tough decision here, but he's probably going to get traded mainly because of his contract. Somebody that's 17. I don't pay him all. The Toronto pays a good portion of his contract, but somebody that's expected to get paid quite a ton of money. I do expect more in the production category, so he's probably going to end up being traded, and either for prospects or a pitcher I can control for less money. Then we have 25-year-old Ben Brown, who kind of started playing better at the end. I have high hopes for him for the rotation. I would like to see him in the rotation more than the bullpen. He spent a lot of time in the bullpen this year. I would like to see him become a good starting pitcher, because it looks like he's going to be. Because even though he doesn't have high strikeout stuff, I do like the fact that everything else is at least average. And he's got 2 really good pitches. One's elite, and then he's still developing a curveball that could get to a good change up. Hopefully, he doesn't throw it that much. But I do like him, and he can still get a little better. And if he can get a little better, if he can maintain this kind of ERA, that's perfect. Like, it's more than good enough to be, a 4 or 5 starter for me. Especially with this kind of money, he saves money. I can go out and get somebody better to put in the number 1 and number 2 spot. But I do like him. He'll continue to be on my roster as a member of the Miami Marlins. Then we have 26-year-old Edward Cabrera. Kind of disappointed in him, really. Not considering that he does have good stuff. Yes, his control is pretty bad, but wow, pretty bad is an understatement. 5. Yeah, see that kind of behavior. This right here is what's going to keep you not playing for me. That's just too much. You can't be walking that many dudes and giving up home runs, because you're loading the bases up and then you're giving up runs. Which is why his ERA is so high. At one point, it was in the 5s. He's probably going to be a trade as well, despite him being in team control. It's really tough to decide what I want to do with him. I would like to keep him. It's just because I have a lot of money available in the offseason, and I think I have like $50 million in free agency. I could spend $50 million in free agency, and I intend to use as much of that as possible to improve this team and become much more competitive. But he may be a goner as well. And then we have another 26-year-old, Jake Eder. He played really well, and quite honestly, even though he was mostly in relief, he might have been pretty much all in relief. He played 12 games, all in relief. Small sample size, 24 innings, but he played really well. And it might be enough to actually earn a spot in the rotation. Because I do like that. I do like what he did. He showed that he can be a good starter in his relief appearances. And he played really well. Like, this is a 2.62 ERA is elite. That is elite level ERA. Yes, it's 24 innings, but that is elite. And he's still developing, so he could get a little better as we play out the season. But bottom half of my rotation is fine. Then we have our all-star 30-year-old Tyler Mahle. 3.62 ERA, which is excellent. He had an excellent ERA. Played 33 games, so played a lot of games. So durable, reliable. Was an all-star. Contract isn't egregious, I don't think. What's his contract again? Yeah, $10 million. Then it gets a little higher here, but it's okay. I mean, he's an all-star style type pitcher. If he had more run support, I definitely think he could have had a winning record. It's just tough to win. And sometimes the bullpen kind of gave it away. But really, all across the board, I like his stats. Whip could have been a little lower, so maybe the walk rate could drop just a tad. Home run rate, maybe just a tiny tad. But overall, I think he did a solid job. It was a great free agent signing. If he starts out next year as the number 2 guy, I like to get a real clear-cut ace. Someone that you look at and go, that's definitely an ace. He's good, solid all around, but he's not an ace. Then we have 21-year-old Yuri Perez, who lost the entire season with an injury and still is 7 months away from coming back. So we're not even going to see him at the start of next year. He can become a really good guy. I hope he still gets to develop and reach his full potential despite missing so much time. I mean, he's missed over a year. So weird to see that he's not going to have a 2024 at all. And he only played in 35 innings in 23 before he got hurt. So he's missed like a year and a half. He's going to be close to almost 2 years gone. Which is crazy to think. And his contract is going, which stinks. Major service is 2 years. So his salary is at its best point right now, and I'm getting none of the benefits. And he obviously takes a roster. Like that's the worst part with this kind of injury. But I do like him still, and I hope he comes back fully healthy, and better than ever. Then we have 26-year-old Trevor Rogers, who's solid. He played a lot in the bullpen. Played more in the bullpen than he did in the starting rotation. I don't see us keeping him rostered. I don't think I'll offer him a contract. I think I'm just going to let him go. Let him walk. Even though I get nothing in return, I just don't think he's that good for me to really keep. I can bring up other guys, sign other guys. There's plenty of guys on the roster that can do this for less now. So for me, it's not that big of a deal losing him. Even though he's a former All-Star, it's just he expects this, so he's angry all the time because he expects this. He's not going to get that. Like, this is below average. This is below average. Like, everything about you is below average. You're not going to get that. Then we have 24-year-old Simeon Woods Richardson. I really liked him a lot. He played phenomenal baseball. Being so young, I don't know what the AI traded to him the year before, but whatever it was, it's well worth it just for him alone because he's still developing as a pitcher, and he played really well. ERA in a 3.5 is phenomenal. His win rate, he's a winning pitcher, 9-7 when we played with him. Had some games in the bullpen, but then once I put him in the starting rotation, he really never looked back and just kept playing at a high level. That's a good whip. It's a good home run rate. That's like everything about him is like all this reads to be good stuff. Like I like it. When I look at this, I read a really good player who definitely has a spot in the rotation for years to come, especially at such a young age. I mean, he was 23 for majority of the season, and he put up those kind of numbers. And that's it for the starters. We're going to move on to relieving pitchers. So, 23-year-old Lorbert Arias, he was, at one point, I didn't think I was going to put him in the roster to start the year. He ended up playing in 30 games for us, just 31 innings. Did have 3 saves, 3-2. Pretty solid all around. A really good ERA at 3.16 is what he finished with. That's the kind of thing you expect from your high-end closers and relievers, and he did. Although he expects to be a starter, which is really odd because his stamina does not suggest starter. This is kind of odd. It's just I don't like this. I don't like this where the players are expecting to get something if they don't. They're all unhappy because I don't want this to affect play the way he plays. I don't want this to affect the locker room because a guy with 40 stamina who's not going to be a starter, a borderline starter, by the way, like who doesn't really have great. I mean, he's got really good stuff, but the movement is not that good. Control is average. He played well, but this was in relief appearance, which is much different. Sometimes coming in relief is a little easier because you're not playing a full. You're not seeing the entire lineup over and over and over. You're seeing it one time. You get a couple of strikeouts and you get the hell out of there. But again, he played really well. Did his job. ERA is fantastic. He's definitely got a spot. Can't complain there with him. Let's see here. Let's just go ahead and get through all of them. Then we have relief pitcher, 29-year-old Anthony Bender. Elite ERA, although as you can see, he did get walloped a couple times toward the end, which is expected because anytime, and this is so you guys aren't frustrated either when you play, when you see things that are unsustainable, when you see an ERA that's lower than what most of the best in the league do, and what you don't even see in real life, if you're seeing ERA like, oh, I've never seen somebody with a 1.5, 1.8 ERA, well, that's because you won't. And if you see that, be ready for him to get lit up in a few games to even out those averages. That's the thing about baseball. It finds a way to even things out. You see a guy. This is why I hate when my pitchers go on hot streaks because I know when I put him in, the day gets roughed up for 5 runs is coming. It's coming in the inning because it's just bound to even out eventually. You don't go, 3 games in a row as a starter without giving up a hit or a run or a couple of hits here and no runs without getting destroyed in a couple other games. But I do like him. Despite his rating not being all that great, maybe it's because of his changeup, because everything else is okay, really. He should at least be a 2.5, in my opinion. But the changeup could be what's holding him back. I don't know. Because on-field results speak for themselves. 57 innings played, 2.51 ERA. Really didn't give up many home runs. Did walk a little, but it's all right. He held his own. Strikeout rate was pretty high, so I don't know. He definitely has a spot. He'll get a contract. Just odd to see that he's only 2 stars. Surprised that he's just 2 stars. Then we have 33-year-old Tyler Duffy. You don't even know how you were rostered. Trade with Chicago. I traded for you? I traded. He was a throw-in. Definitely a throw-in because I have no interest in him. I think I took him in just to take him in to make a trade work. Because honestly, I have no interest in him. He just isn't gonna do anything for me. He'll definitely be not offered a contract come arbitration time. Then we have 23-year-old Dax Fulton, which I like a ton. I love his potential. He should be a frontline starter. That's what he should be. But he's struggling. But that's expected with a young kid. He was also 20. He was 22 most of the year. So he's a really young guy. I think we actually did we end up calling him up? No, he's playing for Miami last year. Kind of got worse this year. ERA is a little worse. Whip's a little worse. Home run rate's down. So it must have been the hits or just the untimely runs. This is a relief appearance. I think I only started 7 times. Did appear in 51 games. So that's a good portion of the game. That's nearly a third. Doesn't really look bad. Below average, but when someone is 22 the entire year, they're not. This is kind of what you expect. But it's a positive sign in my opinion because he is developing, and he was able to hold his own. I mean, we saw pitchers that were equal to or better than him that are fully developed that could not do this. So seeing that his ERA isn't egregious considering that he's 22 is a promising sign. Now he's angry. I don't know why, because you are in the bullpen and you were used quite often. Sometimes I don't get this. I don't get their anger. We lost. That could be a reason. And then we have 26-year-old Anthony Malandano. He played phenomenal for us. It's these two-star guys that are playing phenomenal. 2.8 ERA, 42 games, 50 innings. He didn't give up any home runs. That's the key. He's not giving up home runs. Only 0.4 given up. Walked a little bit more than you would like to see, but you can live with that if he's not giving up. See, that's the thing with him. If next year he's giving up more home runs, that ERA is going to skyrocket because he's walking 4 per 9 inning. As you can see here, he's at least walking one every game. So if he just gives up one home run here, boom, that's 2 runs. Well, that'll be a 3-run shot. All these will be 2-run shots. That's the thing with him. You got to be careful because his strikeout rate's not extremely high. It's not even 1 per inning. Although toward the end he was doing a really good job. But again, an excellent ERA especially for a reliever. So it definitely has a spot on this roster. Would not be, or in the elite arm rotations as a setup man. Then we have 25-year-old Max Meyer. Not the kind of year you'll like to see. Really high ERA. I would say he struggled quite a lot. He's angry. 5 ERA, 41 games. Did play quite often. It's the home run rate with him. Giving up a little. Although he did get better toward the end. He was just giving up too many runs. 3 runs there and 0.1 really hurts. As you go from to an okay-ish 4.89. I can live with things in the 4s to now you're in the 5s and you just look so much worse. But I don't think it's the end of the world. I do like his stuff. He should be a good pitcher. His fastball slider combination is elite. And again, he's only 25. Will be, I think, 26 heading into next season. So should have a spot in the bullpen. I don't know. Definitely not a starter. He won't be starting, but he should be in the bullpen at least. Worst case scenario. Then we have 26-year-old Andrew Nardi. Respectable ERA. Again, it's these guys with the 1.5-star ratings that are doing the best. He does have 2 elite pitches. This is what scares me because if he can't keep this up, actually his home run rate was high. Oh, this is the minor leagues. No wonder. He did great in the minor leagues. He sucked for us. 7.8 ERA in 15 innings. Oh, yeah. I had him up earlier and ended up sending him down because he was just struggling so much. So, yeah. So, I don't know. He'll... Since he did play well in the minors, and as long as he keeps staying around this area here, I don't see a reason not to keep him. You always need arms because arms can get hurt pretty frequently and for a long time. Arms just always seem to be out for a long time. Then we have 23-year-old relief pitcher Eric Pardino. I like him a ton. This year he had a 3.77 ERA for us. Only in 11 games. I think I got him in a trade pretty late. Got him from Toronto fairly late. But I do like him. This is right here is what's phenomenal. The elite stuff. This is the perfect grade stuff here. So he should be a strikeout, and he was actually 15.7 per 9 innings. So that was phenomenal. The walk rate was really high. But as you can see, that's still developing, and it's still low. And even when it fully develops, it's still going to be really low. But the home run rate is low, and he's got an awesome arsenal. He's got 5 pitches. If this dude had a higher stamina, he would be a starter. Maybe he could still develop into a starter. I don't know. Because 5 pitches is 2 of them are going to have elite grades. 3 of them are going to have elite. That's insane how good he is. Like down here, his pitching he's got an excellent pitch mix, perfect rate stuff. Movement is going to be above. Is going to be pretty good. It's just his walks that's going to kill him. That's going to hold him back. But if you bring him on in relief with nobody on, he should do great. That's the kind of guy he is. You bring him on with nobody on. Don't bring him on with bases loaded. That's not when you would use. You don't use this guy when the bases are loaded. Use this guy when there's no one on base, because he's probably gonna himself. He'll probably end up putting on one or two guys, if not more. He is when no one is on base. He put him in. But this is a phenomenal ERA. Oh, it was better at one, but again, small sample size, so it's going to go up and down quite a lot. But I could live with this, especially from somebody with really good potential to be a closer someday for us. Then we have relief pitcher, 26-year-old Austin Roberts. Did not do a good job, even though he's rated pretty well. Good ratings, still developing. But just a terrible job. 9.17 ERA in 17 innings. But he will, with his ratings and his stuff, he has a spot in the roster. I'm not gonna get rid of him, even though he struggled in both. Sometimes it happens. Guys just struggle for some reason. Why? No one knows. It happens in real baseball too. Sometimes guys just struggle. Sometimes the head's not in the game. I guess this could be why. Austin seldom gives maximum effort. Okay, that makes sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah. All right. Question was answered there. All right. So we just got a couple more guys left. So we got relief pitcher Eli Villalobos, 27-year-old. I don't think he saw any starting time for me this year. I might have just recently put him on my 40-man roster. How did he do in the minor leagues this year? Double-A, held his own, 3.88 ERA. That was in 46 innings. It was pretty good. Home run rate's a little high. We'll let you say it's never going to be that low, really. Walk rate's pretty high as well. Strikeout rate was excellent. He's potentially a bullpen option next year. I think I added him because of his stuff. Give him a chance to see what he does. And then we have closer Garrett Cleavinger, 30-year-old Garrett Cleavinger. He was a Rule 5 draft pick. What an excellent draft pick. Although he did kind of fall apart in the end. I don't know if it was just too many games for him or what. He only played 53 innings, but he fell apart in the end. Because I don't know if you remember, at one point he had like a 1-point-something ERA, which is what I was always scared of. People with that kind of ERA. And then, of course, the last game, he just gives up 6 runs to 3 homers to bring his ERA from 3.29 to 4.25. Almost a whole point just from that one game. But I think overall he did a good job, considering that he was a Rule 5 draft pick, and I got him because of his stuff. And he played well. Glad to have, even though he's on the older end, as a rookie, it was a snipe in my opinion. Because he did his job. 32 saves. 32 saves in 53 games, so I don't know how many blown saves he had. I guess, 6 blown saves. That's not bad. He's definitely earned a spot on my roster next year. He may not start off as the closer. I don't know. That job is always up for improvement and openings, and it's an important job. So that's it. That's it for the pitchers. In the next video, we'll go over all the batters, and we'll kind of go over who I think will stay and where we need to keep improving and who I think I see as my projected starter, and start kind of think about where this team is heading in the future.